Commitment 2026 Spotlight, the race for Baltimore County Executive, WBAL NewsRadio 1090 and FM 101.5.
And welcome back. We're going to call a mulligan today and bring in Nick Stewart a bit earlier than 12:30, and he is a candidate for Baltimore County Executive. As we know, that election is coming up next month for the primary, and then the general election contest, of course, in November. Good afternoon to you, Nick, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, first off, why you? You're running against some established candidates, with 3 being current county council people with decent enough name recognition throughout the county. You have to do this from the ground up, and you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
But why you for the citizens of Baltimore County?
So you're right. This is a grassroots effort. The truth is, I think we need a fresh start. In a county that has languished under current leadership, these guys who we're running against represent 32 years of full-time elected experience for Baltimore County. And it's true, TJ, if you love the direction of Baltimore County at this moment, I'm probably not your guy. We are talking about a bolder plan to make this county more affordable, inclusive, and modern, because now we have to. It is the fastest shrinking county in the state of Maryland. A third of our children are living in extreme poverty in Baltimore County public schools. We don't even have enough money to honor contracts with our teachers. So we've got to flip the script and turn a page. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And that's what we're promising.
So one of the things I'll touch on, since you brought it up, was affordability. Having lived in the Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, the only thing the executives, the mayor, the CEOs of the counties, the county executives have been able to do to help with the affordability issue, for me, at least I think, is not raise my taxes or even get rid of certain taxes or fees. What is it that you think you can do when it comes to residents' affordability? I mean, you can't impact really their electric bills, their grocery bills, the housing costs. That's a longer term plan, but how can you affect the affordability issue?
I think we have to move with urgency right this minute. People are feeling this pressure. We are losing young people primarily, but our seniors are also feeling forced out of their homes. You talk property taxes. It's true that the rate has stayed steady, but the property tax value, the assessments, have increased double digits the last 2 years in a row in Baltimore County. So we are struggling, and that's because we don't have enough housing.
The state did that.
Well, the state did that, but that's also because we don't have enough housing in Baltimore County. So the scarce commodity housing has increased in cost because we don't have enough of it. So if we're able to do life-giving projects like at Security Square Mall, where it's taken us 10 years to do nothing, then we're able to build more housing, more retail, live, work, play, learn environment. We're able to decrease people's property tax assessments. But at the same time, we're able to actually affect their mortgages and their rents. This is what Austin, Texas did over the course of 5-6 years and lowered everybody's overall cost by about 20%. But think about it with energy. Partnering with the city of Baltimore to work on a public power option, which is a true alternative for us in the Baltimore region. We've got to work in partnership. Think about a 25% property tax credit for our seniors, the way that Howard County does it. Or think about universal pre-K. It's $1,800 a month for a single kid on average in Baltimore County.
Where does that money come from?
Where's what money?
The money to do those things.
Well, some of this
to
is...
give a 25% reduction in property taxes, to give universal pre-K.
Yeah.
Where does that money come from?
There are 3 or 4 big sources. Number one is we don't collect impact fees from developers like Anne Arundel County has. They've been collecting since the mid-aughts, have collected nearly $400 million. We didn't have the political courage to do that work, and our county council and those running didn't have the courage to do that. We think about our bond capacity and bonding rating. We have a AAA bonding rating, and yet at some point we're going to slip beneath the waves holding on to this thing because we're unwilling to invest in the public infrastructure that warrants and justifies additional supports. And then we think about growing again, TJ. We are growing at less than 1% in GDP, and we should be growing closer to 5 or 6% according to peer jurisdictions. This is hundreds of millions of dollars in year-over-year revenue that we can spend and invest.
Again, we're speaking to Baltimore County executive candidate Nick Stewart. As a former candidate myself, I was asked this question as a non-politician. How are you going to get through the bureaucracy of the politics to enact a lot of what you want to enact? Because we think about the executive branch, that's the executive branch.
That's right.
You're going to need that legislative branch to do a number of things in order to push it through. So you bring up Security Mall, 10 years stalled, essentially, is what you're suggesting. How do you punch through to make it happen?
So this is one of the most powerful executive positions in the entire country. The fact that we expect and always talk about things in 10 or 20-year time horizons is our own fault. We have done this to ourselves. It's not mysticism. We're making choices here. And so if we choose to move with urgency and with radical transparency, rebuilding trust with our population, then we're able to unlock big things. 63% of people right now do not trust local government. There's no way for us to get things done or work in collaboration and partnership. And a big part of this, TJ, is not just about me being anybody's savior. I'm not. This is about taking power out of Towson and putting it into the hands of our communities, the ones who need to be able to lift themselves up in partnership with us because they know their communities best. They know the peacemakers. They know who can do the work. And so it's our job to give them the tools that actually function, and that includes at Security Square Mall.
When you think about data centers, it's a big conversation around the country, certainly around the region. Your neighbors to the north and east of you, Harford County, they are going with the idea of banning data centers completely. What's your philosophy on data centers? Baltimore County is looking into more of a moratorium to study, but what's your philosophy?
Well, number one, we should have never authorized them by right in Baltimore County, which is what we did. And in fact, our council had to go back and correct its own mistake and say, oh, look, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. And the idea that the best thing that we could possibly propose for a place like Security Square Mall was a data center is a reflection of the injustice that exists in Baltimore County and the systemic bias, in fact, some racism that exists in Baltimore County. This is not, we have set low expectations for a lot of our communities. We ought to elevate them. For data centers, I'm not opposed to having a long-term moratorium or a ban because it has not been proven out, TJ, that these can be adequately supplied with their own energy, their own water, or that they have a net benefit when all the costs and implications are taken into effect at this very moment. Yes, there are some jobs that are created at the outset, but long-term, look at the impact of them.
Yeah. All right. So when it comes to housing, I know this is an issue that's near and dear to you. And I want to say the very first time we ever spoke, we really talked about housing, affordable housing in particular, a lot. It's controversial. And I used the Lutherville Station area as an example of a developer who wanted to put a housing complex in that area. But the people in the community say that they don't want that.
Yeah.
When it comes to the idea of affordable housing, what can you as county executive do in particular as far as policy changes over the first 100 days to really push forward with this idea?
It takes us 6 years on average to build a home start to finish in Baltimore County. We are doing this to ourselves. We are suffocating ourselves. We need to attract income earners who can feed into and pay into our system. We need to attract the type of young families who want to build a whole life in Baltimore County. We need to keep those seniors who have built whole lives here because that's our moral imperative. So what do we do about it? Look at Anne Arundel County. They legalized starter homes, and now they're starting to build
tiny homes as well
for $200,000 a pop. And they're using pre-approved housing designs, prefabricated homes. There's a way to do this work. The other things I will do day one is propose a bill to overturn the partial housing ban that Councilman Patoka put into effect. He took what Montgomery County did, and which they got rid of because they know it doesn't work and they know it has a disparate impact on black and brown children, and we put it into effect in Baltimore County. That is unconscionable. Number two, we will also overhaul permitting approvals and inspections in this county, modeling best practices in places like Honolulu, which are doing this far better than we are, or even the town of Salisbury, which is doing it better than we will. And we'll also grow according to a plan that is legally binding. Our communities will create the plan. Instead of people always being surprised by what's coming, we can do this in a lawful and intentional way that we're not right now.
You think you can get that done in the first 100 days? Get policy shifts and getting the new council, because there'll be 7 new council people.
And a lot of the people who are running believe in this too. They believe in the politics of abundance instead of the politics of scarcity. The politics of scarcity says if we build the walls high enough and we keep enough people out, then there'll be enough school seats and there'll be enough homes and there'll be enough jobs to go around. I think Donald Trump did a really good job articulating that vision to this country. I reject it. We are for the politics of abundance that says we can create enough for everybody, but we have to choose it and do the unglamorous work of government.
Again, we're speaking with Nick Stewart, who is a candidate for Baltimore County Executive. That election happens next month for the primary, and you get to choose amongst the many candidates in that. Now, when it comes to public safety out in Baltimore County, it's been a lot of conversation around Towson Town Center, White Marsh, the avenue at White Marsh in particular. The police department's rolled out some things when it comes to that, but we're watching the vacancies pile up at Towson Town Center. We saw that basically happen at Security Square Mall as well, that's going under redevelopment. What's your plan when it comes to public safety and working to keep Baltimore County safe?
You know, TJ, I've been inside and outside government. I was our vice chair of our school board. I started this housing advocacy group called We the People. But one of the things I did was prosecute cases in Prince George's County. I understand the law enforcement fight that we have on our hands. And that is why I'm the only candidate who has proposed a plan specific to Towson and restoring public safety, public trust. Towson is our beating heart. So goes Towson, so goes the county. So we have to get this right. What does it look like? So number one, we're going to have a police substation at the mall. This is what Arundel Mills does. Number two, we're going to transition and elevate mall security into special police officers. It's what we do at CCBC. And we're going to reallocate the sheriff resources and duties so that we can free up more of our police officers to fully staff the entertainment district that is there. But importantly, we're also going to provide a much greater youth intervention support system, as well as youth jobs over the summer. Baltimore County places about 500 students per summer, whereas the city of Baltimore places 10,000. The delta there is, once again, unconscionable. We should play catch up because we always have to in this county. We can finally lead. This is the way to do it.
And when it comes to recruiting, there are vacancies in Baltimore County and vacancies in police departments across the region. Do you have any plans to try to increase recruiting in Baltimore County?
100%. So I am very proud that we received the endorsement of both our police and our firefighters. In fact, there is a candidate who is running. His name is Councilman Jones, who was a career firefighter. And yet the firefighters endorsed what we stand for because people are desperate for change. And that's really important. So what does this look like? We're down 300 officers right now. We'll be down another 200 because of retirements we can't backfill in the next 18 months. So what do we do about it? We stand up, we create the plan. The plan is this. Number one, we're going to ensure that we fully fund their pensions. Because right now, the council took care of their own pensions and didn't fund the police, the fire, the nurses, the teachers. We will establish a $3,500 property tax credit in order for our police officers to be able to live in the county that they serve. So many of them can't at this moment, and that is a disconnect and a moral imperative as well. We're going to honor the promises that we made to them, like having a true take-home vehicle program, which we opened and then closed. That doesn't work either. And then we're going to establish a public safety academy, like Howard County does, to set high expectations once again in this county that we can do the hard things. And if we're going to grow again, then public safety, public education, and public infrastructure have to be in place.
Now, this is a big one, and you, having not served in office, you get to fly a little differently under the radar on this than the candidates that have served in office, because candidates across the field have been hammering the county's backroom decision-making culture, and multiple candidates pointing to major decisions being finalized before the public ever gets a chance to weigh in.
That's right.
When it comes to government transparency and the political culture, what are you going to do to change that, and your thoughts on where it currently is?
Well, if you look online, this is nick4baltimorecounty.com, you will see our Smart Government Initiative. This is a way of professionalizing and making more transparent our government. This includes having things like a red tape czar and a chief modernization officer. It includes using data in a professionalized way through a BC Stat program that we need to elevate. But importantly, it's about setting, again, the right expectations of people to build and restore trust. Just today, TJ, the council is going to vote once again on trying to fix the pension grab that they effected. Now, you might remember that on the very same day, they changed the law about how pensions should be calculated to be based on future salaries. And then that same day, they introduced a bill to make those salaries full-time salaries, going from part-time to full-time. This created a doubling of their pensions. And they all said, well, look, this is just a lemony snicket series of unfortunate events. We doubled our pensions by accident. And then it turns out that one of their own, Councilman Wade Koch, made sure to resign before that repeal of that law took effect so that he could ensure to take advantage of this doubling. That is a reflection of the true intent of this bill. all along the way, while kids go hungry and while teachers have their contracts cut, we have a county council, including every member who is running for county executive, who voted to double their pensions. Say what you will, but we are spending time on the wrong things in this county, and we need the basics of trust once again.
Really quickly, I want to touch on schools and infrastructure. We look across the board in counties and the city paying a lot more when it comes to the Kerwin Commission and the blueprint. How are you going to deal with that? It's rising every year, the contribution from the local government. How are you going to deal with that? Overcrowding in schools that you brought up earlier.
Yeah.
People have strong emotions about that, especially when it comes to redistricting schools.
Right. So instead of just passing a housing ban and saying, hey, no more kids, no more families, we need to create more schools, or at least the renovations and replacements that will also tie in to the community school approach or program that I fought very hard for as vice chair of our school board. And they need the right facilities in order to deploy those resources. And so what do? Yes, there is impact fees. Yes, there is bonding authority. Yes, there is growth. But we also should look at Prince George's County and their public-private partnership model, which is able to front-load some of the spending in order to accommodate and create more space. We also have to be more forward-thinking in the way that we redistrict in this county. We simply don't do it with the frequency necessary to actually use our capacity the way we should. If you look across this county right now, and we redistricted across the entire county, which we don't do, but if you did, you would have a school seat and a school seat for every child. And this is really important because it leaves us with the impression that instead of just holding on to our own, we ought to look regionally as a county to understand our real strength.
Yeah, and again, we're speaking with Nick Stewart. He is a candidate for Baltimore County Executive. And I'd be remiss if I asked you who are you? People out there want to know who you are. You mentioned that you were vice chair of the school board. You mentioned about being a lawyer, but who are you? Like, for people that don't know who you are.
Yeah, so I am...
What's your background that makes you qualified to be county executive?
Well, I'll say, look, the who I am is I am a father of 4 beautiful kids who are 10, 8, 7, and 5.
God bless you.
The younger 3 are boys, and so my house is never clean. But look, this is a blessing, and it's beautiful. And I am the husband to Katie Stewart, who is the love of my life, and I met in college. And together we have embarked on a life of service. She works at ATF in Baltimore, and I have worked in the city mayoral administration. I have worked at the Maryland Supreme Court. I am now a business attorney who works with venture companies and people creating new ideas. And yes, school board, and yes, workforce development board, and yes, to my own housing advocacy group. But I am a believer that this moment calls for something more than just more of the same. That public service can and should be a noble calling, and that it is not about any one of us. It is about the platform that government creates for communities. I believe in this strongly, and that is why I'm willing to give up so much of what we have built together as a family in order to make sure that my kids can grow up loving this county, and I can see my grandkids grow up in person instead of over the phone on FaceTime.
Nick Stewart, candidate for Baltimore County Executive, June 11th. Early voting starts, and what's the date? June 23rd for the actual election day, I believe it is.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so good luck to you, and thank you again for your time and sharing with our audience.
Thank you, TJ.
And we'll be back with more here on the TJ Smith Show.